Lena Fontaine's body was pulled from Winnipeg River in August of 2014, it made Canada question a long history of unrecognized violence towards Aboriginal women. An outcry began, with thousands protesting and marching to demand justice for the hundreds of missing and murdered Aboriginal women. Many tactics of awareness began, such as the Red Dress Project, the use of the hashtag #AmINext, and docu-series on the Highway of Tears. The government had no choice but to answer the call to action for a national inquiry of the missing and murdered Aboriginal women of Canada. From 2001 to 2014, the average rates of homicide involving an Indigenous woman was 4 times higher than the homicide involving a non-Indigenous female victim. Simply put, if you're an Indigenous woman or girl, you have a 3 times higher chance to face violence than any other woman in Canada. And part of the reason why these numbers are so shocking is because Aboriginal people make up 4.3% of the Canadian population. It is a small group of people who are enduring the most and frequent amounts of violence. In the beginning of this year, a grieving mother from Manitoba, Lydia Daniels, began the Necktie campaign. The idea was adopted from the Red Cloth Ribbons Memorial campaign. Daniel's son has been missing since November 2014. So after doing some research, I wanted to see what the big picture was, and the results were uncanny. From the research that was conducted by Professor Adam Jones from the University of British Columbia, he is a political science professor there. First, according to Statistics Canada, 2,500 Aboriginal people were murdered in Canada between 1982 and 2011, and out of a total of 15,000 murders. We found that out of the 2,500 murdered Aboriginals, 71% of them were men, that being 1,750. I mean, that is a significantly large number. To include men into the inquiry of missing and murdered Aboriginal peoples is not to put back the women who are missing or the girls that are missing. Absolutely not. They are just as important, but so are these men. Instead of looking this as gender-based violence, I mean, when I sit here and think and look at the statistics and look at the news and what's been happening, is it a gender-based violence, or is it violence that is facing an entire community? And by genderizing the issue, are we putting focus away from something that is affecting a whole group of people? I mean, is the narrative of this story so blinded that we're missing the bigger picture? I got invited to record the Toronto press release to urge the federal government to include men and boys in the national inquiry of missing and murdered Aboriginal peoples.
We are here in solidarity with our Indigenous brothers and sisters to honor our missing boys and girls, sons and daughters. And we are hanging neckties as part of the National Necktie Campaign, urging the federal government to do the right thing and include boys and men in the national inquiry into murdered and missing Indigenous women and girls.
I think we did a pretty good job back here. I'm very proud to be part of something like this. On March 9th, 2016, big picture, Manitoba First Nation declares state of emergency after 6 suicides in the last 2 months and about 140 attempts. The community in Manitoba is about 8,300 people. April 10th, 2016, Northern Ontario First Nations community declares state of emergency after suicide attempts. I mean, how many more First Nation communities are a suicide away from declaring a state of emergency? Like, what is plaguing these communities? Addictions, childhood trauma, cycle of abuse, overcrowded housing, poverty, taking over of land, promises of jobs, promises of recreation centers, promises that are not being kept. Learning about these issues, doing all the research, being exposed to all this information in the past couple of weeks has made me very eager to learn more, to get involved more. I'm going to try to reach out to the Aboriginal community. I want to hear their voices. I want to hear their stories. I want to hear them. I mean, some of the issues I already knew about, but some of the issues were so new. I think one of the most alarming piece of information for me was that Aboriginals only make up 4.3% of the population of Canada. Where did they go? I mean, we know if we read our Canadian history, not what they teach us in high school, I mean real Canadian history, there's so many stereotypes that are associated with Aboriginal peoples that I've heard growing up myself, you know, lazy, addicts, gamblers. But you need to get in depth of these issues. You need to understand where the poverty comes from, where the addictions come from, where the gambling comes from, why are they there, you know, questioning these things, questioning why when there's a group of people that are murdered and missing, why the government is not taking actions or the steps necessary to look for them and to inquire of them, and for gender to be the reason why is not a reason enough. So yeah, I really hope you enjoyed some of the things I discussed, and let me know if you have any questions or any, you know, you want to spark a discussion or whatnot. I would really, really like that. Anyways, guys, thank you so much, and I really hope you like and subscribe, and I'll have another one released very soon. Bye.